Welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm Justine Reichman, your host. Today with me is Braelyn Davis, co-founder of Planet Foods. Welcome, Braelyn.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad that we got to connect. I know we tried in LA when I was there, but you were off about. So it's good to connect now. For those people that don't know what Planet Foods is, I want to do it justice. So you want to give everyone a little heads up to tell them what Planet Foods is?
Yeah, so Plant-Based Foods is a company that was founded on the core messaging of sustainability. The goal of the company was really to hone in on not just something that was hyper nutrient dense, but incredibly drought resistant and climate change resistant. So when it came down to looking at what kind of proteins were available in the plant-based world, we had to hone in on hemp being the chief ingredient there, just because it really harnessed the full power of that superfood capability, from healthy omega fatty acids, protein and fiber, to complex carbohydrates. So when you have something that nutrient dense, and then you look at it and you go, wow, it also cleans the soil and the air, and it can actually feed the population in hot climates. Well, it's kind of an all-star ingredient. So that's what we honed in on, and that's why we utilize hemp in plant-based foods products.
So do you look at plant-based foods as a health food? Is it like, do you look at it in that category? Did you build it on the premise that it was a health food, or did you build it on the premise that it was going to improve, it was better for the environment?
Well, it's really both of those pillars coming together. It's the yin and the yang, right? To make the perfect scenario. It's that situation where we needed something at its core to be something that could outpace climate change. That was the first and most important thing. And then the second thing is it needs to sustain the human body, right? And do it in spades. It needs to make sure that it's fully supported in a way that the competition really isn't bringing. You look at soy and the issues that you're having with soil depletion and the problems that farmers are having. And that was kind of a catalyst for us to figure out, okay, farmers are concerned about the soil depletion with soy crops. And generation after generation, year after year, the soils continuously getting depleted. Same with lots of other big crops like rice. You start looking at the size of rice kernels way back in the day, and then you kind of see how they've shrunk, and they're not getting the same nutrients from the soil that they used to, right? So we're in a position now where we need to make a pivot, and we need to do that not just for our own survival, but we need to do it for the planet's survival. And it's funny how they complement each other, right? Can't have us without the planet. So that was the first thing. We do look at it as a superfood. We look at hemp as a true certified superfood. You can put it against any other certified superfood, and it stands its own easily. It's very well fortified when it comes to a nutritional panel. So for us, yes, nutrition was a huge component because my background is in nutrition. I studied nutrition back in the day. And
you don't look that old.
yeah. So maybe 15 years ago, I was studying nutrition, and that was kind of a path that I was very encouraged by. And as I was going through that process, I ended up discussing the future of food and future pathways for sustainable food processes with my father, Robert Davis. Robert has a amazing background, 35 plus years experience developing alternative meats and health foods. So
wait, so hold on. So this seems a little bit like a family kind of mission in some ways.
It became a family mission, right? You did.
Did it start before you started this?
Yes, it did.
And what did he start with? What was his initial mission? Just so we can start at the very beginning. I want to start at the beginning here.
We'll bring it all the way back.
It sounds like you were on this path before you co-founded Plant-Based Foods.
Plant-Based Foods, yeah. I was very much on it. If you go way back to the early 90s, So we'll put a pin in it there. Early 90s, the conversations were always very prevalent in my household with my father when it came to sustainability and feeding people cost effectively and nutritiously. So these are the elements that were discussed at our dinner table over our cold blocks of tofu and steamed rice. And yeah, so I grew up very much in a health food environment. We only consumed what was very good for the body, and stayed away from anything that was not good for the body. And that was something my father was passionate about, overtly passionately, and it was one of those things that obviously rubbed off on me. So as we kind of continued and I grew up, the conversation was always there. We're always talking about new pathways to sustainably feed people, not just do it because we don't want to hurt animals, not just do it simply for the environment, but combine all that and create something that will actually really support the body.
That's very advanced, because even back in the 90s and the 80s, we were talking about healthy food. But did you grow up here on the West Coast?
I did.
So I grew up on the East Coast. We were talking about healthy food and eating well and eating organic, but I don't know that we were that advanced on sustainability and carbon footprint and regenerative. I think that you guys were much more advanced on that. We might have been, advanced on the healthy and the well-being, but you guys were your family was very forward thinking.
Incredibly forward thinking, and it wasn't me at the time. I was a child, but I was blessed to have guidance from the adults in my life that were forward thinking. And Robert is a visionary. He's someone who's always 100 years ahead. And the concept of hemp was discussed decades ago with Robert. Robert actually he had started an organic hemp clothing line in the early 90s because he understood the importance of it. And
you're the second person, by the way, not to cut you off, but you're the second person that I've spoken to in the last month to talk. They did a flaxseed clothing line.
Yeah.
That also started back then, but they started it on the East Coast, and it was Ryland do you know Ryland from Kiss the Ground?
Oh, Kiss the Ground. I don't know Ryland, but I've heard of Kiss the Ground, yeah.
Okay, so his parents started a flaxseed clothing line back in the 90s. I'm sure these parents must have connected.
There's some synergies there,
There's some synergies. Anyway, go on, sorry.
Yeah, no. But yeah, Robert was always there. He was a philosopher in many senses, and was always able to kind of look past the veil on a lot of things and see what needed to be done. And I always appreciated that, because that brought a sense of entrepreneurship into the family and the household. And it encouraged me to always kind of do my own thing and think for myself, which is one of the many blessings that my parents bestowed upon me, but that was a huge one. And I guess in the early 90s, Robert invented the very first tofu hot dog. He went on and helped launch Good Karma Foods and Alpha Foods, so some other very large players in the space. So he's an accomplished food scientist in a lot of ways.
And have you guys worked together on any of those projects? Did you work with him?
Not on those projects. At that time, as I came out of nutrition, so we'll take it back a little bit further here. So we engaged in conversation my whole life. As I started coming out of school in my early 20s and figuring out, what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, nutrition was a big component of that. But I was also very much sold on hemp and the feasibility of the plant itself, everything from its health benefits from CBD to its fiber benefits and building materials to its nutritional benefits from food. So I began engaging in hemp and cannabis for the past 8 to 10 years. And I was involved in some of the larger companies spawning out of California in their branding and overall marketing development for the plant. And my main job was shifting the narrative of the plant from being something that was highly stigmatized to something that would be a little bit more relaxed and approachable and feasible for people to just get in a grocery store, not a drug dealer. so
accessible, so everyone has access to these good products.
Right. So as I was going through that, the conversation reignited with Robert and myself about, wow, I was engaging with tons of hemp farmers and processors, and we're looking at it and we're like, wow, if we were to utilize hemp, even 6-7 years ago, we would have had to get the food grade hemp seed from Canada. And a lot of elements were just unfeasible to bring it to the US market. Fast forward 5-6 years, we're really primed for it. We have amazing hemp being grown in the United States, food grade hemp that produces amazing seeds out of Montana. And we ended up partnering with a lot of these agriculturalists and farmers out of Montana to kind of create a coalition of hemp-minded, futuristic businesses that can support our future today. And that's the goal, is we want to work with more people, more companies that share the vision and understand that the more we utilize this plant, the better off we are tomorrow. And utilizing it in a way, not just for food, but obviously for fuels and building blocks, as much as we can use it for, the better, because it replenishes itself and the soil and the air. So the more it's utilized, the stronger the crutch, the more we get to kind of alleviate the stresses on the planet in different places.
Well, and I know what's so interesting about, plant-based foods is when you look at your competitors that have a lot of these other products similar to yours, there's a lot of controversy around them, about what's in them, about the impact they're having on the environment. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that, because I think that you've solved some of those problems by what you're putting in them and the impact they have both for the wellness of the human as well as the impact on the environment.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, it's a simplified ingredient list goes a long way. When people can read what's actually in it and understand what's in it, and, they only have to go four ingredient blocks down to be like, wow, this is great. Instead of looking at an ingredient list that's 16 items that they don't even know is real. So it comes down to minimizing the processing of the plant, right? We want to minimize the process in which the amount of ingredients and unhealthy oils and fats are added. And then also come up with a process that's as close to zero waste as we can. And that's what we also did. We have a zero waste process. We utilize 100% of our ingredients, and anything that's even scrapped actually gets redesignated and moved into our crumble line. So we have a very efficient way of producing this. And, ultimately it starts with low impact from the fact that we're utilizing an ingredient that helps heal the planet. And then comes down to utilizing less fillers and processed materials, and then streamlining the production process so it's zero waste. And I think those are the kind of three things that you could hone in on that we are doing to try to put our best foot forward.
Essential Ingredients is powered by Next Gen Chef. Next Gen Chef is a movement that supports food and beverage entrepreneurs around the world by fostering a sense of community and providing its members access to mentors and a wealth of resources and guidance. Next Gen Chef feeds members with the knowledge they need to build better for you food and beverage businesses, so the world can have greater access to healthier food, comprehensive food education, and increased affordability. If you like what you hear on this podcast, continue the conversation or ask new questions on the Next Gen Chef app, available in the Apple Store and Google Play. Follow Next Gen Chef on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Next Gen Chef. Join Next Gen Chef and let's change the future of the food industry together.
Yeah, because I think that some of the challenges with some of the, I would say, similar products out there have some filler, which has created a problem and may not be as good for the environment. And I think as we look at some of these products that aim to be more plant forward, there is a challenge around what's going in them. And what would you say to an entrepreneur that is looking to build a plant forward product today?
Yeah, I mean, if they're looking to build a plant forward kind of product, first, the biggest catalyst is what's your mission and what problem are you solving, right? If you're just looking to throw your hat in the ring with everyone else plant-based and just to say I'm doing it too, you're going to have to come with a little bit more than that these days. Definitely come fortified with what problem you're helping fix, but also kind of look at, how can you improve the lives of everyone that would be touching your product, and how can you improve the lives of the people working on and producing the product. And that's kind of what I think garnished a lot of support behind our brand, is because we reach down all the way to the farmer and ask them, how do we create something that will help you? And they go, well, we need to figure out how to make money off this. So we need to create, actual pathways of new food systems where consumers are using this. So, okay, that's where we come in. Okay, how do we take this seed and turn it into something that the consumer then can use, which then will benefit the farmer? Because farmers, they got all the stress in the world on them right now, right? They have to produce something, and then if they can't sell it, that's on them, right. And their soil's depleted, their cash crop's gone, and then it's growing old. So they actually had issues, with hemp early on, because a lot of farmers would grow lots of hemp, and then they couldn't get rid of it because there was no pipeline. So we looked at this not just for how do we solve a problem for our consumer with nutrient dense food, but how do we solve a bigger systemic problem with our farmers and make sure that they have a pathway and a pipeline to produce something that's good for the planet and for its people, and they can actually survive off of it. You got to alleviate that pressure for the farmer first in order for all this to work. So we looked at this kind of as a multifaceted approach. How do we create a new food system? And it had lots of amazing little touch points that kind of generated and reinforced our story. And I think that's a huge component to have entering into the entrepreneurial space. How many touch points of places in people's lives can you improve? But also not just the end result as far as a consumer. How does the process improve everyone's life and or the planet's life? And so the process of just creating our product improves lives. And that's something that we honed in on as quickly and as thoroughly as possible to kind of reinforce our branding.
I think that's super smart. Was this your first entree to entrepreneurship? I know you grew up in it. I know you've had a lot of experience being around family. And I know that gives you an insight that like no other. I grew up with two parents that were entrepreneurs, but was this your first entree?
No, I've had a few other businesses in the past. I have a very diverse background. I worked in the music industry. I've worked in marketing. I've worked in cannabis branding, hemp. I worked for record labels. So I've been all over entertainment. So I had a few small businesses in the past. I had an entertainment business and a clothing company in the past that actually got a lot of cool popularity in Southern California. So that was kind of my first foray into, I guess, understanding the entrepreneurial world and kind of tapping in and building something for yourself. I did that in my early 20s. And from there, I started a consultancy through my late 20s. And that was focused on hemp specifically, anything from capital raise to marketing, branding, market penetration, any of those things, licensing. So I was involved in that and running that for a while. And then as this started bubbling, and this was my first real push into my own consumer goods product line. But I have launched probably over 1,600 different products into the market through hemp and cannabis. Working with numerous other brands and kind of directing the whole brand launch for each product release. So I have a lot of experience in the space, but not so much in the health food space specifically. But luckily for me, I have many years of study in nutrition that can kind of help reinforce that background. It's interesting, growing up, I always knew I was going to be doing something entrepreneurial, even in school, which I'm sure pissed my teachers off, because I just always kind of was like, well, yeah, but I'm going to just do my thing at some point. And I've been really lucky, very, very, very lucky my whole life to be able to connect with groups, organizations, and people that allow me to do me, and they'll give me the flexibility and the opportunities to do what I think's best. And I've been lucky enough to have successes there. And it's one of those things where, I always knew, not just because my father was entrepreneurial, but because I hated the idea of just doing what other people thought was right, when you could, everyone can think for themselves, you know. And I always felt like it was a,
I understand. I
yeah,
feel the same. I mean, I feel the same way. It's like there has to be a greater purpose for me. Like like I get up in the morning because I love what I do, because I feel like I have an impact in the world. And I'm excited about it.
yeah,
I used to go to work and I worked in PR and consulting and all sorts of things, but and I did my job and I was happy doing it. But I would always, sometimes I'd find an excuse, or I wasn't really that excited about it. And I can see that in other people, right? I can recognize that now. And I see the difference in how my drive pushes me, not in a bad way. I don't feel pushed like I have to, but I want to.
mm-hmm.
I'm not tired. I'm excited. And I think that's what you're saying, right? That like,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
that drive to like do it because like I can do this. I can make a difference. I'll get that done. I can fix it. I can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, and as my partner always says to me, he's like, "You're a fixer. I get it done." And I don't mean a fixer like in the movie where
Hide
that
a
movie
body.
with George Clooney, where he's like, "Yeah, I'll fix it.
I'll
I'm the
give you a
fixer."
call after this.
Exactly. Not like that, but and I think it's a special. It's like it's something that's in you, that you have that special drive that you want more. And sometimes I think it's part of your DNA. I think it's part of who you are. And not everybody's meant to be. That's why we have teachers. That's why we have toll collectors. That's why we have people that, are customer service. There's something for everyone, because not everyone can do everything, right?
Yeah.
But I'm with you and I get it. I do. So what do you say to those entrepreneurs that are just going out there that, come up against all the challenges and the obstacles of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're an entrepreneur, let's hope you have passion behind it. So let's say that that's kind of maybe the first step, and we'll assume that you already have that. And secondly, if you're really passionate about it and you believe in it, you're going to get a lot of people that tell you how to do it differently. You have to be super prepared to say no to those people, and you have to trust in yourself and your vision. It's so easy to have a concept and then see it get morphed and shape into something that you didn't initially anticipate it to be, because you get too many inputs and it starts getting conformed and starts molding into what already is, instead of being that breaker of the mold, right? So if you have a concept, stick with it and find people and groups that will help bolster it. That's something that's super important. You can have a great idea and push it down the pipeline, and it can change quickly. So it's holding on to what's important to you out of the gate, I think, is what's most important.
I would agree with that. Was there any advice that you were given along the way that stuck with you, that really was pivotal on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, again, trust in what you're doing, maintain the passion. That was a big one. And always surround yourself with people who believe in what you're doing. It's one of those things, like if you got a group of people and you guys are driven and you're pushing it, it takes one person to shoot down everyone's ideas, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's good to have that contrast, but it's also really important you align yourself with people who believe in the core mission of what you're doing. The why, not the what or the how, but the why. And if you can get more people that surround you that are focused on the why, then you have this core understanding and you're going to have success.
So tell me about plant-based foods and the products that you have out now in the stores, and where people can find them, and also what's in your pipeline. Any news we're going to see that aren't out there?
You will, yeah, some exciting stuff. So I mean, currently we just launched our D2C on our website. We're getting that up and moving. We're also available on some amazing third-party platforms like Amazon and Veggie. So you can order us there. Outside of that, we're moving into retail this year, which we're really excited about. We're going to be moving into some new retail partners here on the West Coast. You'll have to stay tuned for those updates. And in regards to new product launches, we are releasing our new handheld items. So currently we have our alternative meats, which are, our sausages, our burgers, and our crumbles. And now we're moving into the kind of plant-based convenience items. This is something for people who want to eat plant-based and not necessarily spend all day preparing it. So we have taquitos coming out. We have 2 variations of taquitos, an original with cheese and a Southwest with a little spice to it. These are great for kids, for families that need something quickly. You can throw in the microwave, even though I highly suggest throwing them in the toaster oven.
I was going to say, yeah, microwave and better for you foods. It's just not working for me.
It's not, you know, but there's so much, and that's a part of what I want to make sure we're attentive to, because there's so many consumers that are like, I want plant-based and I want my kids to eat plant-based, but I have 2 minutes to get them out the door. And I need to make sure that we have a product for that mom or dad that needs to get their kid out the door. So yeah, so we made it.
To that end, I just want to make one other comment. It's like, we can't do everything 100, you know, you can't do everything, right? You got to make it accessible. And if somebody is going to want to use a microwave, I don't want to shame them. It's my choice whether or not I use it. So I take back what I say. Just because I don't want to use it, I'm not shaming anybody else for using it. You know, I get it. There's times when it's the right choice at the right moment for whoever it is.
Absolutely, you know, and in a lot of ways, it's kind of microwave if you must.
There you go, microwave if you must.
Yeah. It's there for you if you need
Better
it.
to eat than not eat, and if the only thing you can do is microwave it, then microwave instead of not eating.
Yes, exactly. Now, if you want an optimal experience,
there you go.
That's where you go for the other one. Yeah. So we're gonna make sure to kind of delineate those 2 options on the back of the packaging for you. But we do want to make sure people know it's an option. And then coming out of that, we have more handheld convenience items. We like to look at as plant-based comfort foods. You know, between the taquitos as well as the new burrito line that we're coming out with, we have 4 new burritos that we're going to be releasing. And a breakfast sandwich that we're going to be coming out with too. So those are all the convenience items on the near horizon. And in the future, we do have some amazing intellectual property built out around non-dairy items, things that with probiotic enhancement for your stomach and your gut. So we're really looking at different ways to incorporate hemp into the beverage world as well. So we can kind of tap into that, as well as non-dairy mayonnaises, and bacon bites and bacon bits. So we have quite a few different things coming out, from shelf stable to non-dairy to convenience items.
Wow, that sounds great. I mean, there's a lot of new, I guess they have a lot to say too. They've got a lot to say. They want to have their say. But, you know, it reminds me of the veganese, or with the avocado mayonnaise and all those kinds of things, which is very popular right now. I mean, I can't eat mayonnaise mostly because I can't look at it. It's a visual thing for me. It has nothing to do with taste. It has to do with visual.
Right.
But that's super exciting. I can't wait to try your products. I mean, the crumble, I just like the idea of the crumble. The taquitos sound really great because I love a good taco. We lived in Mexico City for 2 years. So anything to bring back those memories.
Yeah. Well, we hope we can pull some nostalgic feelings for everyone who eats those rolls, because the taco rolls are amazing. We think those are going to be one of the more popular items, just because the convenience of it all. And again, it's all non-GMO, 100% vegan. And you're dealing with all the superfood attributes as well. So it's really a home run when it comes to, you know, if you can get your kids to eat something healthy that tastes delicious. I know a lot of parents out there, friends of mine, that would snag a bunch of these as quickly as they can.
That's great. So in terms of, I know you were ahead of the curve with hemp, and your family's always been ahead of the curve in food and wellness and sustainability and regenerative farming. So what's new and what's next in building a better food system for us, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's more companies latching on to truly sustainable ingredients, not just talking about it and adding additional processes that are incredibly detrimental to our environment on the backside. So it's about harnessing the powers that we have, and it's not just hemp. There's lots of amazing plants out there that can produce heavy kcals and proteins that are a necessity for people to get in their bodies. But it's about understanding a process specifically here in the United States, that we have the ability to produce lots of healthy food that can clean up today's diet and sustain our farmers. So for me, like if I could push one message to anyone either starting a business or currently has a pipeline in place, is lean towards new systems that will actually encourage, you know, farmers to create more plant crops that will outpace climate change. I mean, it's the most important thing. Soy and corn's not going to be around forever at this rate unless we start, regenerative soil processes.
Thank you, Braelyn, so much. I so appreciate you joining me here and sharing everything about plant-based foods and all the information about farming and how you can work with farmers to make more informed choices and help them through creating a better system. So thank you. And if for our guests that are listening or watching, what's your websites in case they want to go on, learn more, or be able to buy product?
Yeah. Well, check us out at planetbasedfoods.com. You can see all of our information there, order product. You can just give us a Google as well. We'll pop up on some third-party platforms, just Planet-Based Foods, and you'll find us.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Braelyn.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
To find out more about this episode of Essential Ingredients and access show notes, check out Next Gen Chef and choose podcast in the menu bar. If you like this episode, head to iTunes or Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel to subscribe. Learn more about Next Gen Chef, the platform that powers this podcast, by checking out our website or visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Next Gen Chef. You can also check out my Instagram at Justine_Reichman. If you have thoughts about this episode or future episode ideas, leave us a comment at Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel or drop an email at team@nextgenchef.com. Thanks for joining us.